Oh viewers, why do I keep doing this? This is the 2018 Fiat 124 Spider Lusso Plus. I should not be driving this because it does not fit into most of the review formats that I have. But anyway, welcome to Contingency Reviews. So Contingency Reviews is the format that we use when we shouldn't really be filming cars, but we sort of do anyway. This 14,000 mile Fiat 124 Spider is one of them. Let me just put these windows up. There we go. That should be probably a bit better. It's based on a platform of the current Mazda MX-5 known as the ND, and went into production in 2016. It wasn't actually as successful, I don't think, as Fiat expected. They didn't make this car for very long at all. The last ones of these in this country, I think, were sold in 2019. The Abarth version of this lasted a little bit longer, but this is the Lusso Plus, and it was the sort of higher trim model when this car was launched. The early versions of the Fiat 124 Spider were the anniversary models. It was a special trim to commemorate the fact that the original Fiat Sport Spider was released in 1966. That lasted until 85, latterly using the Pininfarina name. The Abarth model used a different engine from all the other variants. That was a 170 horsepower. This one, it's about 138 horsepower. They're both versions of what's known as the fire engine, which is it's a bit of a silly name, but yeah, that's what it is. It's actually an old engine that was launched in 1985, initially in quite small capacities, and latterly in larger capacities. It's known as the multi-year in this particular application, and they're still actually making this particular engine for the Abarth 595 and 695s, although all the other Fiat models have actually had different engines replace it. 0 to 60 in this car takes, I think it's under 8 seconds just in this normal version. The 6-speed gearbox is very, very slick. It is straight out of the Mazda MX-5. These cars were built in the same factory in Japan. In fact, the current generation MX-5 VND is still built there. You could get an automatic Lusso Plus. That was the only type of 124 Spider with an automatic gearbox, as opposed to this 6-speed manual. The Abarths, a lot of them actually were auto as well. You could get a limited slip differential by opting for the Abarth. This one doesn't have one, but the steering is very, very good. The suspension and steering are a little bit different for the 124 in comparison with the MX-5, and to me it feels really good. I mean, I don't know why I'm surprised by that, but it just feels amazing. Little slick gearbox, very positive brakes, really nice steering. It's an absolute joy to drive this. And David, who owns this car, he doesn't let it go out very often. That's why the mileage is so low. And it's an absolute and utter privilege to be able to drive this. In fact, let's pull over now and let's just take a look at this car in a little bit more detail. This car looks absolutely beautiful. I know that centre section is very much kind of Mazda's work, and just the front and the rear ends are the work of Fiat really, but I think every single panel of this is actually bespoke to the 124 Spider. Because we've got the Lusso Plus, we've got parking sensors and a reversing camera, which are quite handy if you've got the hood up, and you know, even when you've got it down like I have now, they are reasonably handy for just you know, manoeuvring and things like that. Little stubby aerial there. Let's open up the boot and have a look. 140 litre boot, which, you know, isn't the biggest in the world, but for this type of car, it's okay. Doesn't seem to be affected at all by the hood being up or down, which it can be in some cars. But there we go. We've got sort of mats and things. It looks all very, very new in here. I'm not surprising considering it's already done 14,000 miles. I do like the little design cue at the bottom here with the lights down there in the centre of the rear diffuser with these twin exhausts. The ride, as you might have seen from some of the footage that's been recorded whilst I've been driving, is a little bit on the firm side. Even my amazing Desert West phone mount actually did allow it to shake a little bit, which is the first time I've ever seen that actually. So it is a little bit firm riding, but that just gives you amazing sort of response. I think the front of this car is really, really attractive actually. It's a very, very nice looking car. This red does sort of enhance it. It does look nice in other colours as well. And then there's little silver windscreens around. I think it is very attractive. First thing we'll do actually, I think, is have a look under the bonnet. Because you've got the Lusso Plus, you've got things like keyless entry. This is actually a Mazda key in this little case. So we'll take... Oh, it's locked itself. That's weird. Unfortunately, the key was in my hand. That's why I decided to keep the key with me. Otherwise, there would have been problems here. So there's the tyre pressure monitoring and things. But let's open up the bonnet and take a look at the engine. Fiat actually took the expense of building these engines in Italy for them to be shipped to Japan to fit actually into the cars. Normally you find a 1.5 or 2 litre Mazda normally aspirated engine in this car. I don't think any MX-5s in this country have ever been sold with a turbo engine as standard. I could be wrong. I know in some parts of the world they have been, and that you can get aftermarket kits for them. But as far as I understand it, well, this is the only sort of factory installation of in an MX-5 type car, if that makes sense. It looks reasonably easy to work. It's only a 1.4, and you know, the parts are very easy to get for this. As I've said, the multi-air here is just a development of the old fire engine that went into things like the Panda, and you know, did until quite recently actually they had fire engines as well. But in this application, it was 138 horsepower approximately. In the Abarth version, 170. But yeah, so you can actually see the turbocharger there by Garrett. It's just there. But lots and lots of Japanese writing, of course, because this was built in Japan. It's very strange to think of a Fiat being built, but that's the way they did it. It's just such a shame that this car didn't last longer and there aren't more of these on the road. I think the production numbers were in the sort of mid-teens, something like that. So there's not an awful lot of these around. And there's a little Mazda sticker right there with the chassis number, just to remind you of the company that actually assembled it. Right, let's take a look at the interior. Okay, hopefully it'll let me in. I'm going to have to... There we go. Right. Manual seat. I've got that all the way back actually. There's a little bit back. There we go. But I'm only 5'11". I've got it most of the way back. Unfortunately, the steering wheel doesn't actually adjust for reach. It only adjusts for rake. Put the key down there. Look at what storage we don't have. We don't have a glove box. We don't have door pockets, although the door cards themselves are a bit more luxurious, I understand, than an ND MX-5. We've got this bit sort of here. It does feel a little bit nicer. Very obviously Mazda switchgear, but to be honest, that's not a problem. I like Mazda switchgear. Dual stage heated seats in this car, 2 USB ports, even with little sort of rubber things. Presumably this is so that you can use this car if it does actually run or something. But I'm going to put those back in a second, because we don't want to lose those. That's interesting. I thought they'd be on little sort of things to stop them falling off, but they're not. So never mind. Very simple to use air conditioning system, no problem whatsoever, and really clear dials. You can tell this is a sports car because we've got the rev counter in the middle, although it does mean that speedo, because it's offset and it's quite small, is a little bit hard to read. I'm just going to shut the door. So little sun visors with little mirrors in them, so you can admire yourself as you're driving down the roads of Lake Como or something like that. So if we put our foot, I think it's be on the clutch, so maybe I can do it without the clutch. There we go, we can see a bit more on the screen here. And we're going to use this tiny little sort of BMW iDrive type system, which is a Mazda unit as well. You'd find out in the MX-5. So there's the fuel economy. Even like this sort of long stalk thing is very reminiscent of Mazda. But it fits very much in with this just classical instrumentation. So we're just near a place called Canons Ashby at the moment in Northamptonshire, and we should be able to go back to home by pressing this button here. So it's not a touchscreen, I don't think. Anybody who's actually operated something like a Mazda 2, Mazda 3 would find this very, very familiar indeed, and certainly for me this is a very, very good idea to not have it's a sort of a touchscreen. We can operate it all just for twiddling this control here, and we can go back, pressing that there. There we go. There's even a little back button there, and you can adjust the volume just here. You can also do it on the steering wheel just there. We have got cruise control in this car, which would be good. Bluetooth phone, that sort of stuff. I wonder if I move this button here, what does that do? Does that do anything on there? No. Maybe it's literally just a trip meter. It looks like it just is. In here, got some glasses which you might need. Normal handbrake. Lovely 6-speed gearbox. I think this is similar to the 6-speed gearbox that was in the NC MX-5 that I drove last year. In fact, I've driven all MX-5s apart from an ND on the channel. Right, let me see if I can get this hood down. So if we do this, we can reach over. And yes, one hand, viewers, one hand. So if I do that, I can push it back. Just push it down. There we are, that's how to put the top on and up and down. Nice hazard switch. Strange that the air vents aren't quite the same on either side. Most of them are sort of this rounded type, but the one in the middle is not. It's amazing to find a car that was built in 2018, and this is the top spec Fiat version. But it's not overly complicated. It's really quite simple. I mean, we can just go to the entertainment here. There's a DAB radio and things like that. I won't actually turn that on because I don't want any copyright infringement. So just use the back button to come out of there. And there's all the settings and stuff like that. And there we go. I won't show you too much of that because you're probably far more interested in actually me going for another drive, which is what I'm going to do shortly. But I do just need to find the cup holder. It's very strange here. What do voters do? Oh, I know what they do. 1 second, viewers. So these things here, and there's a little bit there as well, would be for the cup holder. I don't think it's in the car at the moment, but you can have 2 cup holders just in those slots there and down there if you want. And that's about all there is to say about the interior, viewers. I think it's time to go for another drive. Sadly, viewers, I've got to give this car back now. Don't really want to, but you know, that's the way that things go, unfortunately. I love this gearbox. I love the feel of the steering. I love the sound that the twin exhausts make. It's just wonderful. The trim options available for a 124 Spider were Classica, bottom of the range, the Lusso, that's probably the most common model, I think, if you don't count the Abarths, and then this Lusso Plus. There were a couple of special editions, of course. I've mentioned the Anniversary, that was the very early version of 124 Spider when they first came out, celebrating the 50th anniversary of the original 124 Sport Spider. And then the S design, that was right at the end. I think they discontinued all the other trims and just had the S design available until the car was discontinued in early 2019. I think the Abarth lasted a little bit longer than that. I do like the way that they only sold a very small number of automatic ones just in this trim for about a year. I don't know why it took them a while to actually do that, because the Abarth versions had an automatic version, I think it was from the start. Could be wrong about that news. I mean, I could be wrong about many things, as I often am. But the feel of this car, the way that it makes you feel, David said to me before I came out, he said it puts a smile on his face. And it certainly puts a smile on my face as well. And I hope if you get the chance to drive one of these cars, that's what will happen to you too. So to sum up, viewers, let's have a look at some features of the car that maybe are not so desirable. When on RSU did a survey of 124 Spider owners, there were a couple of issues. Some of the early cars had thermostat issues which caused the check engine light to come on. Some of the 2017 and 18 models had water pump leaks. Most of those have been solved under warranty. Been some random issues with blind spot monitoring, giving positive alerts, and some cars with leaky air conditioning. Some of the Abarth models seem to have a problem with the alarm going off, which apparently was to do with the tyre pressure monitoring system. Very strange. Obviously check for alloy wheel damage and soft top damage. This car is obviously fine. There's actually some light aluminium panels on this car. The bonnet's very light, that might be aluminium actually. There is an owners club, of course, www.124spider.org. So what do I think of the 2016 to 2019 Fiat 124 Spider? Well, I've really enjoyed it. I'd have to actually drive an ND MX-5 to be able to say which one of these is better, but probably a lot of it comes down to personal preference. I really like this. I think it's very well made. I think the design is really nice. I think it drives really well. It's not, you know, the most comfortable car I've ever driven, but you don't buy this to be the most comfortable car I've ever driven. You buy it to be very engaging, and it is. And I've really enjoyed this, even if I had to break the rules again in order to make this episode of Contingency Reviews. So thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Thank you to David, who's allowed me a chance to have a go in his Pride and Joy, which is immaculate. And if you want to become a channel member, there's a join button below, but don't feel you have to do so. The most important thing is to watch the videos all the way through, which really helps, and to like and to subscribe. Thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching.